Hello everybody, this is GamePro24X, and after looking at the initial edit of this video, I realized that there's a lot of information that I have in the video that just kind of felt unorganized. So I wanted to sit back, redo it again, and hopefully be able to give you guys all the information you need possible when it comes to this subject matter. That way nobody is left astray and everybody's on the same page with the same amount of knowledge that I and the rest of the community knows. So, hope you guys understand, enjoy the video, and to skip certain aspects that you yourself may already know about, I will definitely leave some timestamps on the screen so that you can skip specific chapters that I'm going to go through when it comes to this subject matter, because there really isn't a one-size-fits-all, and there's a lot of different little nuances and little tidbits of information that really do help make the whole complete package more understandable. So, thank you for your time and enjoy the video. So in today's video, I'm going to explain quite a bit of things when it comes to this. So we're going to have some base team 101, where I show you why you would want to maximize your teams in the first place, how to replace your staff members, practically how the game handles it whenever you try to do this, the replacement setup, a really good way of how you can have it set up, and of course, closing it off with maximizing your efficiency. A lot of the information I'm going to go over comes together, and I'll probably share with you guys some little tidbits and secrets that I don't think most of the community even knows about. So skip ahead at the respective timestamps shown on the screen, and let's begin. So why would you want to maximize your base teams? Well, just like in Metal Gear Solid 5, depending of the rank on that team, it'll determine what kind of bonuses you'll have for that team. And it's no different in Survive. So starting off with the development team, depending on what rank they are, it'll reduce how much Kuban needed to repair or create anything. But to be honest, it's pretty negligible. However, the real reason why you want to have this team as high as you can is because to craft higher end gear like the epic armor or the epic weapons, your team's going to need to be at least an A or an S to even do any of that. With the food supply team, depending on their rank, they also give some pretty interesting buffs, and I thoroughly believe that you should have these guys at S rank at all time. So they too also reduce the amount of Kuban needed when you craft food, which again, that's not really that important and it's not that big of a deal. They also reduce how much resources are consumed by your team at your base. But the real gem that comes with this team is the other team crew aptitude increase skill. The higher level the food supply unit is, the higher that skill goes up. And what that skill does, it's pretty special. It legit buffs all the other teams and makes them also perform a lot better in general. So you want to make sure these guys are S ranked as quickly as possible, because if they're S ranked, they're going to help everyone else S rank a lot quicker as well. So the medical team has a few perks the higher they go up. So let's start off with the first one, the illness and injury recovery speed up. So naturally, your staff members are going to get hurt or they're going to get sick. If you choose not to heal them yourself, that's fine. They will naturally heal on their own. And the higher that this team is, the quicker they will be back on their feet without any assistance whatsoever. They too also reduce the amount of Kuban needed to create medical supplies, but that is negligible. Now, when people in your team are injured or sick, they consume a little bit more resources than everyone else. The higher the medical team is, the less of an impact that those people will become when they do get sick. Assigned facility harvest pertains to the actual plants that you have planted outside. So for the medical unit, it's going to be for the medical plants. So at a certain rank, you won't get this bonus, and when you go to your planter, you'll only get one golden crescent at a time, and the next stage you'll get 2 of them at a time, 3 of them at a time, and at max at S rank you'll be able to pick 4 golden crescent each time, so long as they remained in S rank. And the last skill is pertaining to just the overall shared production. They'll just produce more medical supplies for your whole team. So the base development crew is actually pretty important. And I would say, along with maxing out your food supply unit, you might want to max these guys out too, because they actually do a lot of things that are very helpful for the entire base. Now, currently, when I took this picture, they're at A rank, but it's pretty easy to determine what the S rank would be. So, their assigned facility harvests would be at +3 when it comes to the S rank, and they essentially do the same exact thing as the medical unit did, except they affect all the animals. So, instead of collecting 3 pieces of meat, you'll now collect 4 pieces of meat if they're at S rank. So, really, really nice. They also contribute a little bit more when it comes to the shared resources for your whole base. And if you place down defenses at your base, depending on what rank they are, those items may actually have more hit points than usual. And from A to S, it is a pretty substantial increase. You'll have like fences that were like 3,000 hit points, and at S rank, they will become 3,600 hit points. However, you will need to actually rebuild that thing in order for you to get it. So let's say you place down a fence at A rank, it's 3,000. Well, the second you become S rank, it doesn't magically increase to the next one. You have to destroy that fence and replace it with a new one, but that new one will have more hit points than the previous one. And because of how often the team fluctuates between A and S, some people like to place down everything when they're building their whole base when their base development team is at S rank, because in general it'll just have more hit points all around. Base defense team is pretty straightforward. The higher rank that they are, the more beefier they're going to be when it comes to the drills, the automatic base drills. So you want to have them nice and high level, and they do make a pretty good impact when it comes to defending your drill. The automated drill, not the manual defense drill. And the last one on the list is the exploration team. The higher level they are, the wider their deployment area becomes. You will have access to new missions that you can do for your exploration team. Sadly, though, there is nothing after rank B. However, that's probably going to change in the future. So obviously you want to get better staff and get them up to an S rank. That way they can be better prepared for it. And with that in mind, I hope you guys now understand why it's very important to have your base as high as possible. Because there are certain things that you won't be able to build, there are certain things you won't be able to do unless you have a higher ranked team. So before we talk about how you replace the staff members, let's just quickly go over why you would do so. Well, as I already explained earlier, it's pretty obvious. You want to have higher level teams, and you can't achieve that when you have people that are poorly or even moderate. So here is the possible performance levels each staff member can have from worst to best. You have poorly, very well, modest, positive, adequate, and of course, best. Now, there have been a few patches to the game all the way up till now. In the past, the highest you could find was a not very well. Then a patch came along, and then you could find a modest. And then one more patch came along a lot later than that, and now we can find positives out in the wild. So, if you have not given any of your staff members a field manual, and they are not positive in any of the teams assigned, then get rid of them. Because you will be able to replace them with somebody who naturally has a higher performance level than the others. And what field manuals do is that they already increase their level to the next stages, so on and so forth. So, why would you want to give field manuals to somebody who's naturally a modest when you could have gotten rid of him, gotten a positive, and you'll be using less manuals to get him into a adequate and then a best? I will have another video detailing the dynamics of the field manuals, but for now we're just going to stick to the basics. Now, in Metal Gear Solid 5, you can just fire staff that you don't want. That way you can bring in higher level staff. Sadly, in Survive, that is not the case. And because of that, we now have to go through a process of getting rid of them instead of just flat out firing them. So there are two ways of getting rid of your staff members. One is you do a distress signal when your base is full. When you do that, one person will leave. Or you send them on a suicide mission with the exploration team. Now, the reason why you don't want to do option number one is because option number one is completely random. There was a time where it did get rid of your oldest member, but sometimes it could just be random. And the worst thing you would want, which has happened to me, is have a person that you never intended to get rid of leave. And once they're gone, they're gone. You can't get them back. So option number one is completely out of the picture because you have zero control over it. Now, option number two, however, is a lot more nefarious, but it's really the only way to replace your staff members. And to this day, Konami has yet to put in anything else besides this. So let's get into how you do that. All right, let's get into how you properly set this up. So step number one, place an exploration tent right next to the base module, which is the thing that you use to edit your base. Simple, just do it. Next, you're going to head right on over to transport number 8 in the Afghanistan map. And once you're there, go ahead and grab a few things. You don't need to get a whole lot, but this is what we're going to be leaving behind. Once you hit return to base camp, you will leave behind a lost box, which is what you saw right there. Now when you head back to the exploration tent, and you scroll all the way to the last tab, you'll have lost box recovery, which takes 20 minutes and has a 0% of success and a high chance of losses. Now, because this has such a low success chance, you can keep redoing this over and over again, and they'll essentially never really succeed, and they'll always come back injured. Now, mind you, there is nothing else in the game that is just as fast or even faster that has a very low success rate. However, that's not the end of it though. When they do end up coming back, they will come back a little bit injured. And sometimes it'll take you a few tries before they actually die. So here's the condition of this guy that came back. And the rule of thumb is after 3 failed attempts, every time after that, they have a chance to not come back at all, aka they'll die. So there are times I have sent this guy out like 5 times and then he died. There are times where you send him out on his 4th time, he'll die. It's all just a matter of luck. But yeah, this is the only way to get rid of staff that you don't want. Now, whenever you do that, your team does get a small hit in motivation, but in all honesty, that can be repaired pretty easily by just being in AFK, so it really doesn't really do too much. So this is how the whole process will go. You'll either have 1 slot left in your base to go find somebody, or you would just end up killing people, and then you'll have more space in your base to recruit more people. Then you will run around your entire base, talk to everybody, and get a distress signal. It honestly does not matter if you are rescuing somebody that's in Afghanistan or in Africa. They will always be high level or whatever level they may be. There used to be this myth going around that for some reason people thought that Africa will give you positives and Afghanistan wouldn't give you that many positives. No, I've tested them both out and they both give you practically the same amount. It's just a placebo thing. So yes, make sure you check both maps interchangeably and go back and forth. Now in this run, I didn't have anybody in Afghanistan to give me a mission. So when I went to Africa, I talked to everybody that was around the FOB. And because it's a very small area, you know, everybody is just compact into one spot. And thankfully, one guy was able to give it to me right off the bat. However, if you do not get any missions whatsoever, or at least no distress signals, all you do is just go to a tent and you sleep for 24 hours. Make sure you're completely full on hunger and thirst because it will take a hit every time you do this. So you go to sleep for 24 hours, and when you come back, talk to anybody who is available. And thankfully, I was able to get another distress signal from this guy. But other times, you will have to sleep numerous times in order for you to get something. And of course, don't forget to go back and forth between both maps in order for you to maximize your distress signal potential. But there was one little tidbit that I should probably share with you guys. If you eat smoked bird meat or dog meat, the bird meat will give you hunger progression down, and the dog meat will give you thirst progression down. And that does play a factor when you go to sleep. So when you go to sleep with these buffs on, you actually consume less hunger and thirst when you do that, meaning you'll be able to sleep multiple times before you need to eat again. So take it as you will, but there you go. Now here I am out to go do a distress signal. I personally like it when I get a distress signal here because it's super duper easy to get. It's really close to the teleporter and you're in and out in like a minute or so. Now the equipment that I usually bring along when it comes to this is I bring anything that gives me dexterity. So the helmet, gloves, and legs will give me dexterity. And I also use the medic subclass that has Warcry because when you activate Warcry, you get infinite stamina for about a minute or so, and it's really really helpful for this segment. So when you have infinite stamina, the only thing you really want is to have more speed, and that's what dexterity increases. So I would say definitely just focus all on dexterity. Don't really worry about endurance because it definitely benefits you a lot more whenever you do this tactic than the other. But yeah, see, after I just picked up the guy and I activated it, I can just full on sprint through the mist. And the thing is, though, is that when you go through the dust, your stamina is already cut because you're going through the dust, but it also takes more. It also suffers more when you pick up somebody. So again, this war cry is just invaluable when you do this. And look at that, I already made it to the clear zone. No problems whatsoever. Now, obviously, if you're in Africa and you happen to get the distress signal that's by Code Talker's mansion, where there's a bunch of grabbers, you will need to be careful, and you just have to kind of get used to it and just finesse around them. So after inspecting the new guy, he's a mechanic, and mechanics do best in the development team. However, I already have 5 positives in the development team, so I don't need any more. So I'm just going to get this guy, put him in the exploration team, and send him off on his merry way to go die. And simple as that. All we have to do is just wait for 20 minutes to pass by, have him come back injured, and we send them off again. Do not heal them, and just keep on resending them until they die. Now then, how to maximize your efficiency so that whenever you're clearing out your bases for your avatar or for multiple avatars, it makes the job a lot simpler and a lot easier to do. Well, here are some things that you guys should definitely know about that will definitely save a lot of time, a lot of headache, and just a lot of effort in general. So to start off, whenever you're getting rid of staff members, only get rid of 4 people at a time. Because if you go above 4 people, then you'll actually notice that you'll have less people walking around your base, and with less people, you have less opportunities for side missions, and with less opportunities for side missions, you can't do distress signals. So I learned that the hard way. I remember getting rid of 8 people at one time, and man, it was actually really tough for me to find a distress signal because I had to go to sleep a lot in order to get one guy to give me a distress signal. If you only get rid of 4 at a time, it helps minimize the amount of impact that you will get on your base, and you'll still get enough people that will give you distress signals along the way. And to top it off, when it comes to exploration teams, you can only get rid of 4 people at a time. Well, that is if you only have 1 team available to you. But yeah, just follow that simple rule and you will be able to clear out your team really, really quick. Now, I know I mentioned this before, but I want to stress this again. Never do a distress signal when your base is full of 30 people. Because when you do that, 1 staff member will be lost automatically. And there have been a few times where I lost somebody that I did not want to lose. And according to some of the other people that I've talked to, they lost staff members that they gave like 30 plus field manuals to. You do not want that happening to you. Trust me. And like I said earlier in the video, I will have a follow-up video talking about the field manuals and why that's pretty important. But long story short, you don't want that to happen to you because that is a real kick in the nuts because of how much time investment is needed to get that much field manuals, only for all of them to be gone because of a mistake. Another tip I want to give you guys is don't bother replacing your positives. There's really no way if these guys are going to be a high positive or a low positive. And all of that information is going to be very relevant in my follow-up video. But for now, just for quick reference, don't even bother. If you have a positive, keep them. Now, I actually did this in my other avatar. While I was trying to collect a certain staff member, I ended up getting additional exploration guys, and I was able to see if they were good enough to keep or not. Because in the exploration team, where it tells you their numbers right there, that actually tells you their performance in the exploration team. But it only applies to that. It doesn't apply to anything else. So, of course, when it came to exploration members, well, you were able to find out there immediately. But again, this will be detailed a lot more in the field manual video, and you guys will be more well informed about that. But pretty much just don't bother replacing positives because you never know, it might end up being much of a hassle just to get that additional person back. Now you're probably wondering how I guessed which team that guy was going to be good in before the evaluation is up. Now, just so you know, whenever you get a new person, it takes about 4 to 5 base updates, which every update is 20 minutes. It takes about 4 or 5 of those for them to be fully evaluated, and you'll see what their performance is in each place. But because I was already maxed out in those team members for that specific unit, I didn't need any more. So I immediately knew where he was going to go, and I got rid of him because, well, I don't need him anymore. Now, back when the game first started, the highest person you could ever find was a not very well. Then later on, they patched it in to where now you can find modists. And when it came to modists, you can have multiple staff members that are modest in many different units. So it was very confusing to pin down which job goes to what unit. But now that the positives came in and they made that change, if you have a team member that's positive in one team, he's only positive in that team. You'll put him anywhere else and he'll not be positive anywhere else. I have not seen that myself, and I'm not sure if anyone else has seen that either. But yeah, I can definitely assure you with 99% accuracy, if you find a guy and he's a positive in this team, he will not be positive anywhere else. So because of that, we were able to determine and document what guys or what professions those people had that happened to correlate with those units. Now, I compiled a nice big list here, which I'm going to display right about now. So in the development team, here is your possible previous jobs that are going to fit within that unit. Mechanic, tailor, electrical engineer, welder, inventor, and garment maker. For food supply, you'll have cook, botanist, nutritionist, butcher, culinary researcher, and food engineer. For medical, you'll have sports trainer, pharmacist, paramedic, physician, and veterinarian. For base development, you'll have architect, farmer, dairy farmer, landscaper, carpenter, plumber, construction worker. For base defense, you'll have bodyguard, weapons analyst, which sounds like it could have been in development, but apparently not, which is kind of strange. A PMC contractor, soldier, special forces operator, security guard, martial artist. For exploration, you'll have geologist, radio operator, diver, hunter, surveyor, explorer, signaler, and mountaineer. So I'm going to leave this up for a little bit longer, but let's just say you were looking for a 5th base defense guy. You went out, grabbed somebody, and even though that guy was still under evaluation, that guy is an architect. Well, that guy is definitely not going to be great in base defense. So because of this knowledge, now you can just get rid of him. Now you don't have to wait an additional hour for him to be fully evaluated to check what his stats are going to be, because you'll know for sure he's not going to do well in that field anyway. And yes, I have definitely double and triple confirmed that. I've tried to see if there were any exceptions to that rule, but no. Every time I have found people that fit within these specific units, they all happen to have all these specific past employments that correlated with it. So trust this information, because I did a lot of research in it, and I had to reach out with a lot of community members to help double check it as well. But there you go. There's like a nice little shortcut for people that you don't need and you can immediately get rid of and start the process all over again. Now, just to nail the point home, whenever you send people off on a mission, it doesn't matter if you wanted them to succeed or not. There will never, ever, ever be a time where they come back and they're dead. If that was ever a thing, then replacing staff will be a lot simpler and a lot quicker and a lot easier. But that's not the case. So I remember talking to somebody who was playing this game, and they were a little bit paranoid about sending out team members because they thought they were going to die. No. If you send them out and they come back, whether they succeeded or not, they might be injured. If you do not heal them before you send them out, they'll get injured even more, and then they will potentially die. But if they come back and you heal them every time before you send them out, there'll be no problems whatsoever. And when I do make that exploration team video, I'll go into more in-depth about that. But yeah, just so you guys know, there will never be a time when you want to send out a guy for him to die. He'll never die on his first go. Like, he never will. I kind of wish he did, but they won't. Now, how do you pass the time when it comes to the exploration? Because it does take 20 minutes, 20 actual minutes. Well, you guys might actually learn something new here. I just remember, I remember discovering this little technique long ago, but I never really told too many people. But who knows? Maybe some of you guys may have caught on. But if not, here is something really cool that I do all the time that definitely saves a lot of resources. So when it comes to waiting for the mission to be over, you could just wait at the base. But when you do that, you do end up losing hunger and thirst. It's very, very slow. It's actually a lot slower than if you're out in the actual world, but you still do lose, hunger and thirst, which you will have to replenish. So instead of doing that, you do. So remember when I said place a exploration tent right next to the base module, the thing that allows you to edit the base? Well, this is why. Because after you're done sending the guy off on his suicide mission, this is all you do. You just come up to the base, interact with it, just turn off the controller, set a timer for 20 minutes, and then come right back. For some reason, while you're interacting with the console here, your hunger and thirst will not be touched whatsoever. Time will still pass, and everything will act like normal, except for some reason your hunger and thirst never goes down. And it's actually pretty useful. It's helped me out a lot. I didn't have to leave the game or anything like that. But if you guys don't believe me, try it out yourself. Just don't go into the console, wait for 5, maybe 10 minutes, take a look at your hunger and thirst, do the same thing while you're in the console, and you'll see that you haven't used up any resources whatsoever. Now, again, I've known that strat for a very long time, and I never really talked about it too much, but I've never really seen it talked about anywhere in the community either, so I wonder if this is still just a secret that I know about, or if more people actually caught on about it. But, yeah. And before you ask, no, do not pause the game. If you pause the game, it actually freezes everything. All your timers for everything that's going on is completely frozen. And you'll end up just wasting time for nothing. So you have to somehow let time flow naturally. But if you don't want to lose hunger and thirst and have to worry about dying while you're at the base, just go chill at the console. Just plain and simple. And my last tip would have to be have an even base of 5 staff per unit. I mean, it's simple math. There's 6 units. There's a total of 30 staff. To have an even amount, you'll need 5. I know you don't need that many people for exploration team or anything like that, but trust me, you don't need 6 or 7 guys on base defense or anything like that. They could all easily obtain S ranks with field manuals, which again is going to be a video after this one. And in terms of the exploration unit, even though there is no additional bonus after rank B, you could still use those multiple people when you have multiple teams open to do different things. So again, it will definitely help you if you have a nice even layout on your entire base, and you will definitely be able to achieve A to S rank pretty easily if you just follow those easy steps. And that's it. Sorry the video became a lot longer than it should, but thankfully with the timestamps in place, for those of you who needed relevant information, you guys got it. I should have made this video a long time ago, but, things happen. But yeah, I will do a follow-up video talking about the field manuals, so look forward to that. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy, hope you guys learned something, and good luck to perfecting your base teams. This is GamePro24X, and I'll see you guys next time.
Mission complete, and how? They're gonna tell stories about this one, boss.